This is the FV2-5B183, and as it says in the name, this thing is packing a huge tree trunk down its pants, a 183mm, and if it does actually get a max roll, it's capable of one-shotting some Tier 9 tank destroyers, which is pretty dang deadly. When you do, think about it, even if you don't shoot a Tier 9 tank destroyer and you penetrate a Hess shell, which its average damage is around 1300 on a Tier 10 medium, you're still pretty much destroying their game in one standard shell. This is probably the most requested vehicle to see on the channel. A lot of people want to know, is it worth it to grind the tank? Is the line trash? Is the Tier 10 trash? And on the other hand, a lot of people just want to see people getting derped. So in today's video, we're going to be doing both. I will be going over a replay on the 183, but at the same time, we're going to be talking about the AT-15 and as well the Tortoise as a whole line, if it's worth it to go down to get the 183. Now starting off, at the AT-15, I know, I like to call all vehicles the deadliest in the game. Oh, the AMX 5120, and then, I'll go to the 57 Heavy. This is probably, and being completely honest here, the deadliest tank, tier for tier, in the game. Anybody can scoff and say, ha, it's a slow-moving TD, but it's not slow-moving when that gun's aiming at you and it's dealing 225 damage every 3.43 seconds. This thing is able to permanently track its opponents, and with its over 4,000 damage per minute, if you put on adrenaline, literally just destroy your entire game in seconds. If you're literally stuck out in the open for, let's say, 7 seconds, if this vehicle gets its first shell, which it should have loaded already, obviously, you're going to lose about 700 hit points in just 7 seconds. That's all it takes, and that's just about the same time as it takes a clipper, like in a mill, to dump out its clip. So, yeah, you gotta be really careful when fighting the AT-15. It probably and will destroy you if it tracks you, and that's just one of the most enjoyable things is when you do permanently track your opponents. Now, this game wasn't anything special. I pretty much average about 3,000 damage in this tank because a lot of people think, oh, it's a slow-moving tank destroyer, deals 225 damage per shot. There's nothing really to worry about until you do start fighting it. People like an IS-5 might pull out, aim in at you for 1 or 2 seconds, it'll shoot, and in that time, you've tapped him back twice, which means he's lost 450 hit points, and you've lost probably 340 or 60, whatever the heat shell damage is, which means in that time, you've actually dealt a lot more damage, and that's just what this vehicle is able to do. As you can see here, that Annihilator, boom, there's 2 shells into the Annihilator. With that, we took off about 500 hit points. There's the Emil 1, there's 200 hit points taken off of him. There you go, there's another 250 hit points taken off of him. There's another 230. With that, we took off about 700 hit points on that Emil 1. That means because he bounced that one shell, we actually took more hit points off of him than he was able to take off of us. That is where a vehicle like the AT-15 is extremely deadly. And sure, why I may only have 104 hit points, you're going to see this tank is still able to hold its own in this battlefield, get a lot of bounces, and surprisingly survive throughout the entire game. It's just people really underestimate this vehicle. You can see again, I've managed to work this correctly here. Oh, I really wanted to get that shell in. Fun fact, this vehicle actually has the same accuracy as a Leopard 1, which is pretty dang impressive when you think about it. And that Annihilator there obviously didn't realize how quick my reload was, so because of that, again, we're sitting pretty high and mighty on damage there. I wished so bad that I tracked that Emil. You'll always notice that I'm going for the track wheel in this vehicle, and that is one of the most important things to do, because when people make mistakes and they poke out, they just die. That's all that happens. If you manage to permanently track them, that is the end of their battle. Now, we got this Emil 1 here, and really, I'm not able to do much, so we can just kind of skip past this. There's the Annihilator again, and boom, 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 able to get more bounces. You can see that the armor on this tank is quite hard to penetrate. Sure, you can penetrate that cupola on the vehicle, but the thing is that because this thing has a huge gun arc, I think it's like 20 degrees to the left and the right, you're actually able to use this thing kind of like a T-28 HTC and just angle it. And that way, opponents aren't actually able to like shoot your weak spots on the roof. As well, it has actually no lower plates, as you can see. It's about 220 millimeters throughout the entire upper plate, which means if you are playing Tier 7s, they will struggle to penetrate you. And if you're hull down against Tier 8s, they're actually going to have a really tricky time to penetrate you. The AT-15 really is not a bad tank on the armor. And people give it a lot more slack, should I say, and people throw it under the bus more than it probably deserves. There we go, Sturmil bouncing me, and with that, we brought a full health Sturmil down to 125 hit points in, what was that, maybe 10 seconds? Like, that is actually insane. So, yeah, with that, I'm sitting at 3,045 damage, and there you have it, the final shell, breaking 3,250 damage. That is what the AT-15 is capable of doing. It's able to get a lot of bounces and at the same time rip and shred its opponents literally like you're sticking your finger into a blender. This is probably the most enjoyable tank out of the whole line drill grind. I actually did like the AT-7 as well, and the AT-8 is also very strong, and if I'm going to be real, the AT-2 is also really strong, but this tank and the ability to literally just shred everything is so fun. But if you don't like slow tanks, you definitely won't enjoy it. Now we're going to move on to the worst part of the line. This is the Tortoise, a vehicle which definitely needs some love. Wargaming, I've said it many times, and I'll continue to say many more times, this vehicle needs a buff. Now, the reason it needs a buff is, first of all, you can actually see my mouse because for some reason my actual game capture isn't working, so yeah, I gotta use display capture. But this part here is only about 230 millimeters thick, and this part here is only about 230 millimeters thick, and this here is only about like 200. So what that means is that you just penetrate the entire tank. You're gonna see that enemy opponents like the E75 TS, Type 59 Ding literally just go right through my armor with no effort whatsoever. But, again, that does not mean that this vehicle's bad. A lot of people underestimate this tank, and you're going to see enemy opponents do that, especially the Type 59. People really don't realize, by the way, don't question that. That was just luck. Sometimes you fire those shots and you get lucky, and then, you know, you'll shoot directly out in the open, and you'll completely miss. But the thing about the Tortoise is that people really underestimate the gun this vehicle carries. This thing has 3,700 damage per minute. That is more than, again, most tier 10s in the game. And sure, while it may not have that much armor, one thing it does have is very flexible gun depression values, and it's a very accurate gun. But you can see literally in like the first, minute in the game, I've already lost all of my health. It's not great on that aspect, and that is where this vehicle struggles so much. Now, I did realize, wait a minute, they keep shooting me right in my cupola. In fact, you can see that there's literally 2-3 pens in my cupola. That's the only spot, apart from we do have got one pen there. That is the issue with this tank. It's just so easy to penetrate. So what I'm thinking now is, well, what if I poke this spot? And again, the 75 TS, I thought I was hiding my cupola, but no, he was able to snap that right there. I was like, are you kidding me? So again, issues arise with this tank. Now, obviously, at this moment, I'm pretty mad, but we have actually picked up over 2,000 damage. People, again, underestimate how quickly this tank is able to rack up that damage. I'm sitting here, already sitting at 2k damage, and with this incredibly accurate gun, very high penetration, I'm thinking, well, I'm not sure what the enemy opponents are going to do. We got that T92 one, and I'm thinking, well, oh boy, here comes the T92, but yeet, you're dead. That's what you get for taking a little bit of time there to aim. And with that, now 2,400 damage. Now, again, I am a one-shot for the C75 TS, and I'm a pretty easy one-shot at that as well. And I am able to turn my tank just at the last second, but but here's the thing. People, again, underestimate the reload of this tank. That Type 59 thought, well, he deals more damage than me. Obviously, he's going to have a longer reload, which would be common sense in most aspects, but not with this vehicle, because again, you really just don't want to trade with this gun. So now we're going to aim in on the C75 TS. There's one nice pen. He bounces right off the deck of this vehicle, and again, going to aim in. Boom, another nice pen. Sadly, we are getting low rolls here, but still, that's 3,457 damage I've managed to pick up now because people have just let me use that DPM. That is how the Tortoise can become extremely deadly. While it is bad in a lot of aspects, and while I do hate this tank sometimes, it's just so deadly when you do let that gun work. Now, I do know, and you'll notice here, I was like, okay, I just watched my teammate get hit by that AT. I need the wiggle. I need the wiggle. Wiggle, wiggle. Yeah. Went right through my cupola once again. As I did say, that cupola is extremely easy to penetrate. And because of that, it is a very vulnerable tank. Wargaming, please just, like, buff the armor. All around, probably make the, first of all, cupola, like, impenetrable. That shouldn't even exist. Just get rid of it. And then make the upper plate, I don't know, like 250 thick. That way you can, you know, pen it with premium, but not really. I would like to see tanks that are balanced, not just absolutely horrific. And I guess the reason why they don't really want to touch this tank is just because it would cause more people to go down to get the 183, which then would cause Wargaming to have problems on 183 OP. That's always the issue with the line. But I really wish the Tortoise was strong like it is in World of Tanks PC, because that is kind of how I always imagine the vehicle being. Super high DPM, pretty good armor, but sadly it's only got the DPM. Especially, it's kind of sad when you think about it that the AT-15 has more DPM than the Tier 9. It's actually kind of sad. But here we go. Now we are in the King of Alpha, the FV2 and 5B183. Now, this tank is great in certain aspects. Two aspects. The penetration is great. The AP is able to cut through almost all frontal armor, and as well, the damage. That's it. Those are the only two things going for this tank. Other than that, hit points aren't really good. Armor is literally none. And, yeah, the camouflage, don't even get me started on that. As well, accuracy, it is like, I could probably chuck a brick at you guys across the continent right now and have a better accuracy rating than the 183. That is just the issue with the vehicle. And you're going to see that happen here. I wanted to show this replay, even though I only did like 3,000 damage, just because it really illustrates where the 183 has its huge faults, but as well, where it has its big advantages. I know that that cron's on a reload, and I know this IS-4 does shot, so because of that, well, I just buttered right through his frontal armor and took off about a third of his hit points in one standard shell. That, again, is where this vehicle is just able to shred armor and hit points as well. We've got this Kron Vong over here, and you can see I am waiting. I am aiming and aiming and aiming and fire. 1,466 hit points. Like, that's incredible. Literally 2 shots and we're already sitting just shy of 3,000 damage. This is a good game for most tier 10 players. So, yeah, you really don't mess with the 183. Now, sadly, I just didn't have that time to snap the shell on the T92, and you're going to see some unfortunate stuff pop out there. But the Progetto, yeah, he didn't enjoy life all too much. We're at 3,200 damage, and, well, newsflash, that's all the damage I deal this whole game. You're going to see where I could have had a very easy damage shot. We've got the Bat-Chation 25-ton, which is a very, very easy penetration. In fact, the 183, fun fact, overmatches every single angle on the tank. I aimed on him, and yeah, literally went into the track. Yeah. That's issues with the gun. It is incredibly inaccurate. The easiest shots, and you can see they're even in chat, I was so mad because that would have been 4,000 damage, but because of that, we weren't able to break 4,000. If I skip that on the replay here, I didn't think this T92 was going to poke out further than this, so I fired the shell, and again, there you have it. That is the hash completely failing me, and I doofed it big time because I could have hit this T92 so many times, but instead I couldn't. So, overall, we finished the game with 3,255 damage. Nothing bad and nothing incredible, but it did show you the good things and as well the bad things about the 183. It's able to nuke enemy opponents, but only if you have literally the easiest shots, because when you have hard shots like that T92, and that wasn't really hard for any normal tank standards, just this vehicle really sucks on the accuracy. Like, I'm running refined gun, and it's barely any good dispersion. 0.244 is not good. Yeah, so, oh, yeah, I was actually losing my mind. I was like, wait, what? How does the 183 have 0.244? No, it's not. It is 0.367. That sounds a little bit better. I was actually bugging out there for a second. I was like, wait, what? So yeah, the 183 has about the same dispersion as an E100, but way worse aiming time. So that's the tank for you. Do I suggest to grind down this line? No, I never will. Because grinding down this line for any average player, if you're a decent player, and let's say you average about, I don't know, 3,000 damage in tier 10, yeah, I'd suggest to maybe grind down the line. But for any average player, and this isn't me being, egotistical or a jerk, I'm just saying specifically that this is a terrible line for anybody that isn't the best at the game, because you have no mobility, you have practically no armor as long as people load premium, and sure, while the AT-15 has that insane DPM, it's only insane if you're able to work it, and that's the issue. The Tortoise is probably the worst tank you can grind in tier 9, honestly. Let's see, tier 9, maybe the Patton, but I didn't even mind the Patton when I played it. None of these vehicles are really bad, and none of these tanks. Yeah, honestly, I'd have to say the Tortoise is one of the worst grinds you will possibly do. Maybe the Conqueror's up there, but yeah, that's my opinion. Hopefully, all of you enjoyed today's video. If you want to see more like it, please consider smashing that subscribe button down below. Other than that, stay happy, stay healthy, and I'll be seeing you in the next one. Bye-bye.